coming up on this episode of Free Lunch.
Then it went from that to selling cocaine because I was using it.
Yeah.
So I always wanted it to be free for me. So that's why,
Yeah. You deciding to love someone doesn't just like happen at the altar. Like
Right.
that's a decision you will make
every day.
every single day after the altar. And
Don't be the next Kanye or don't be the next Nicki Minaj. Be the first you.
you too young to be getting married now. Like I was looking at them like this is crazy. Like, what do you mean I'm too young to get married? Like
I'm an adult,
I ain't
bro.
too young to be having these babies.
It was down. It was like,
Yeah.
where y'all at?
Wow.
And everybody.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Freestyle Gospel, a.k.a. The Real Free, with another episode of Free Lunch. I got my man here. Special guest of mine. Special because I ain't caught up with my man in a minute. Almost ain't even recognized my man when he came to the studio. But he's here. So, I'm going to let him just introduce himself to y'all. My man, Yodi, give it up for him, y'all.
What's going on?
Yodi, what's good?
Everything, man.
Yeah. Now, is Yodi actually your real name? Like, that's all I've ever known you as.
Nah, my name is Coleman Wallace.
Coleman?
My grandfather's name is Coleman Wallace. My dad's name is Coleman Wallace. My name is
Nice.
Coleman Wallace. Two of my sons' names are Coleman Wallace.
Wow.
My sister's two sons have the middle name Coleman.
Uh-huh.
So we all have little nicknames.
Fire.
You know what I mean?
Like that.
Yeah.
So, it's been, I know we haven't, I'm trying to think of the last time we actually connected. I know we haven't connected all through this whole COVID thing.
At all.
So now I'm trying to think of prior to COVID. I feel like it might have been like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been 3
At least.
years, man. Yeah. And like I said, I didn't even recognize you. The last time I saw you, you had the like long hair, slimmed up, you know what I'm saying? You look way healthier now, man. You got the hair shaved off. You look good, man. You look
Appreciate
good.
it.
You look really, really good. No, that's no cap, for real.
Appreciate
So tell us, man, like, I know obviously like, we got to catch up, but what's interesting is that similar to any of you guys who caught the episode, Bus Stop Dads, you know how like you meet people through other people and, you really become just really well acquaintances, but not really ever really knowing one another's story, quote unquote, like, or you don't know who they actually are past the family get-togethers or past the, cookouts that you all might have been invited to at the same spot. Excuse me. So you know each other's name. You kind of know each other's family for the most part, who lives in the home with who, each other's kids' names maybe. But it's one of those things where like, yo, when you hit me up, I was like, yo, it'd be dope, man, to have you on the podcast because one, just I ain't seen you in a while, but also not only can you actually, share with me just more of who you actually are as a man, so our relationship could even grow past, just kind of the surface it's been, but just so the audience, the people listening could get a glimpse of the eye into who is Yodi Wallace. Yo, so yeah, man. So tell us about yourself, man. Where you from?
So
Where you be?
I'm always confused to say where I'm from. It's hard because I went to 14 different schools before high school just because we moved around all the time.
Wow.
So from New Jersey, Connecticut, Virginia, Canada. So we moved around a lot.
I actually spent some time in Virginia.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I loved Virginia.
I say to people where I get confused is where I'm from, I don't really have a difficulty answering. I say I'm from New Haven. I was born and lived in New Haven all the way up until 7th grade.
Yeah,
So
you're from New
I
Haven.
could say I'm from New Haven.
Yeah.
But then when people say, where were you raised? I then get kind of, twisted there because from birth to 7th grade, I was in New Haven. But then from 8th grade all the way up to graduating high school, I was in Virginia. And people a lot of times will say, wherever you went to high school, that's where you was raised.
Yeah, so
because
it's
those are the developmental years,
right?
Where you really coming into yourself, not when you like this little kid, So, finishing middle school was all in Virginia. Entering high school, really like coming into my own, that adolescence.
So you stepped off the porch in Virginia,
basically.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and then came full circle, came right back. So. Born in New Haven, raised in New Haven / VA.
Okay.
Big up for Virginia Beach out there.
Oh, yeah.
Virginia
Loved
Beach.
it. I lived in Virginia Beach for like a year. Loved it.
Yeah, man. The thing was dopest for me coming from Connecticut, at least at like as a 7th grader, was out of like the 6 years, I guess, that we lived down there, it might have snowed 1 year.
Mm-hmm. And it was like this much, right?
It was mad tiny.
Oh, yeah.
And they shut down everything.
Shut down everything.
Everything was shut down.
Grocery stores packed for half an inch.
Nothing. You're getting nothing.
Yeah.
The Food Lions was all shut down.
Oh, man. The Food Lions.
The Food Lions.
Oh, man.
We not getting no bread.
I remember they got busted for selling like old meat.
Really?
Food Lion, yeah.
But you know what was fire? And they tried it here in Connecticut. The Golden Corral.
Oh, my God.
When I heard about Golden Corral coming to CT, I was so excited.
Them butter rolls?
And then it was a disappointment.
Yeah, it was.
I was like, how do you do this?
It was.
Adversely, I've never came across a bad Popeyes here, like up north, right? But you have not tasted Popeyes until you've actually gone to New Orleans.
Oh, really?
Like, their Popeyes have like a super secret different recipe.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, what's happening?
I gotta go.
Why don't my Popeyes in Connecticut taste like this? It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
7-Eleven is another chain that was down there that just popped up north. 7-Eleven was not up here.
I feel like 7-Eleven been here for a minute, though.
About 20 years.
But before that, nah.
Nah. 7-Eleven was a down south thing.
Wawa's.
Wawa's. Yep. What else they had? Riley's. I don't know if you've been to Riley's. But yeah, so
Riley's.
I probably say I stepped off the porch in New Jersey.
So you stepped off the porch in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And then obviously you landed here back CT.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine CT for the most part or not has been good to you, would you say? What place would you say has been good to you, the most good to you in your memories? I loved VA, man. I wish I'd never had left sometimes, man. I feel like that was the best.
We cried when we had to leave New Jersey.
Really?
Like, we literally cried. Mm-hmm. We loved it. But my
was
mom,
it because of, like, friends like you had? You had a lot of...
We moved so much. Once we got to New Jersey, we stayed there for about 4 years. So that was, like, the longest stretch of time.
Oh, okay. Without
we
moving
were somewhere.
Away. Okay.
And we had
Makes
real
sense.
good friends. We lived in a cul-de-sac. It was hood, but so my mom didn't want me to go to that high school. So we moved back up here.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of my best friends got who we hanged with every day, lived across the street. He got bagged for murder. So
wow.
it was like
in Jersey.
Yeah, it was that type of town. Plainfield,
Wow.
New Jersey. So we moved back up here. Yeah. And then I went to Hamden High. So that was pretty multicultural.
Did you graduate from there?
Yeah.
I ended up graduating from there.
Yeah.
The last 4 months of senior year.
Yeah. Hamden High was real good to me because I played sports.
I was upset with that school.
You know, why is that?
Because I was transferred from Virginia to there for the last 4 months of senior year.
Okay.
Like, I did my entire high school.
What year did you graduate?
01.
Oh, okay. I graduated 99.
Yeah. So I was pissed. Like, my pictures, my senior pictures are in the high school yearbook down south.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's how late in the school year this was. So I ain't go to the prom. I wouldn't freaking went to the graduation if my mother ain't make me.
Wow.
I was really in my feelings.
That's crazy.
So, okay. So you end up graduating from Hamden High, man. I mean, what would you say, I really want the people to get because we obviously have a a limited time in the show. You know, anytime you ask somebody like who they are about their story, you know, that's a really, really, how they say it, that's a jam-packed question, you know? So we have to do our best to kind of like have like these chunks that really, as a society, we think are these formative facets or really parts of like life. So, you know, whether it's like the formative, you know, young years, like, you know, who were like the role models to us as men for this section. Then we transitioned into like, you know, when we graduated high school. For me, once I graduated high school, you know, I did 1 year of college, and then like a freight truck, like real life, adult life, you know, hit me, you know. So I became a dad, you know, at 19 years old, you know, thrusted right into working full time. Like life like just went light speed after that. Like it was like.
But some people don't choose that route. They'll still go to college. They'll still.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't understand that decision, but you know, I don't judge it.
Oh no, definitely.
You know?
No.
But yeah, so high school was pretty good to me. Track and field was like my sport. So, you know, I was all state, all area, all everything. And then the same thing happened, you know. I don't want to go into it too personally, but there was a block to me going to college and running track. A family thing, you know. So I didn't get to do that. I ended up playing basketball for Gateway. And then after that, same thing. It was like I got married, had kids, jumped into full-time work.
Yeah.
You know? So I got married at what, 21? She was 20?
Yeah, I think that was about the time I got
Had a baby
married for the first
immediately?
time. I got married, I want to say it was like 22, maybe. But it was definitely like early 20s, man.
Yeah.
Because I remember all my boys was like, dang, man, really? You getting married? Like, you too young to be getting married now. Like, I was looking at them like this crazy. Like, what do you mean I'm too young to get married? Like,
I'm an adult,
I ain't
bro.
too young to be having these babies. Like, so. And again, like, that's just me. Some people might say like, yo, you mad old school, but that's just how I was raised.
Some people are cuffers, man.
I was raised old school.
Yeah,
like,
me
it wasn't
too.
even for me, you know, yes, I'm a man of God. You know, I love God. But for me, it really wasn't even that. It was really just a old-fashioned upbringing because I had teenage parents myself. I was raised by, you know, my great-grandmother, then my grandmother. And then, like, at the time where we moved away from Connecticut to Virginia, that was at 7th grade. That was me and my sister's first kind of really prolonged period of time where we lived with our mom. You know, so we kind of like, you know, bounced around a bit with grandparents, and you got these old soul, like, you know, mentality type. Like, I'm still the dude, you know, husband that, like, you know, I open the door for my wife and all of my 3 daughters. Like, and they all crack up, you know, occasionally. Like, you know, they're a lot of, you know, pretty much used to it now, but they would like laugh sometimes where they all would be sitting in the car and like watching me run around the whole.
But you got to do that to your daughters.
You know what I'm saying?
So
Running
they
around.
know who to pick.
But that's me handing down my old fashioned. This is what I was taught. This had nothing to do with like something super spiritual or being like, like this is how.
So I just grew up thinking my family was superstars. Like, my sisters are dope. They're very pretty. My mom was beautiful. God rest her soul. My dad, you know, he was my role model growing up. You know, they say like, who was your role model in school? Everybody say Jordan, you know, Mike Tyson. It was Pops, man. My dad was thorough.
That's fire.
You know, he still is. He's just the wisest, most caring man I know.
Every time I come across your Pops, man, I always challenge him to a dance battle, man. Because he swear he got moves, and he do. He do. And I love to see him being on the dance floor, man. So it's like...
You should have seen him and my mom do the hustle. Oh, my God.
I've seen them dance together. I haven't seen them do the hustle, but I have been in the room with the two of them in the same space.
They be tearing it up, bro.
They tear it up. They tear it up.
So they were so cool, but we were so family oriented. You know what I'm saying? So that's, again, why I got married early. You know, it was like, I wanted what I saw.
Exactly.
My dad was dope. My mom was dope.
And that's interesting. You say that you wanted what you saw. For me, it wasn't the only thing, but one of the things is I wanted what I didn't see. Because as soon as I was born, my 2 teenage parents split up. Like, they broke up. You know what I mean? My mom is 15, Pop's 16. He dropped out of high school. Mom's walking Hampton High hallways pregnant with me. Then her son later comes back to that same school and graduates. Like, how crazy is that? You know what I mean? So, I really wanted for my kids to, like, grow up seeing their mom and their dad. Yeah.
What helped me make the decision was I was heavy in church at that time. Not church, I would say the Bible.
Yeah.
When I was 18, I bought my own Bible. And I just read it all day, every day. And what made me make that decision was, she was a godly person too. So I thought it was no way it wouldn't work. We both love God. It's going to work. But that unfortunately was not the case. I wouldn't say she's a bad person. I wouldn't say I'm a bad person. It just didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? But what I learned through that process and what I had to go through after that process turned me into the man I am today. It was rough. I had to sleep in the car for a long time,
Yeah.
Then you go through that phase of, when you was up, a lot of friends around, a lot of people around. Down, man. It was like I seen who was there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
When you're up, see a lot of faces.
Got a lot of fans,
and
man.
then that one thing that's always characteristic of the downtime is like it kind of sifts through the faces, for you. You know what I mean? Without you even trying.
People who I would let borrow my car, I'll buy them a battery for their car, or I'll let them live with me.
Yeah, man.
After I was down, it was like,
yeah,
where y'all at?
Wow.
And everybody helped. Everybody in my family helped as much as they could, which was dope. But I had to learn that you're here by yourself. You gotta adjust to the wind on your own. You know what I mean? So
did you feel like that time where you maybe during that time, but probably more so I would say like as you reflected back on that time when you had those down moments, was it times either during or that followed once you were not down anymore where it had feelings like rise up high enough for you where like you didn't want to even speak to those individuals or like had animosity towards them, or was it kind of a thing like you just, because some people could just be like, you know what, their response is, I know this is the nature of man type of, perspective. And it's like, you know what, it is what it is. We'll just, part our ways. Obviously, I won't, be connected with whoever those individuals are or what have you. And then other people, how they have that phrase, hurt people. Now, because you've been hurt and offended by the lack of presence of those faces you thought would be around, now it's like you lashing out, basically.
I would say at first I did the lashing out. At first it was very difficult to see it objectively. But that taught me everybody goes through what they go through, and sometimes you don't know. You know what I mean? So you can't judge what a person should be doing for you, because they have their own troubles.
Yeah. What a person should be doing for you. Yo, that's fire.
So
people got to meditate on that for a second. You can't judge what people should be doing for you. That's real. That's real, because in the moment where you are in the low spot, really the only perspective you have a lot of the time is the perspective or the place of lack or need. Like that's where you're coming from, because I'm hurting. You know what I mean? So I'm not even really able to be aware of what it is you might be going through. I might totally be missing it. It could be right there in my face, actually. But because I'm bleeding out, I cannot perceive that your ear's bleeding. I'm like here bellowing over, yo, I got a rib shot, man, or yo, my chest is bleeding. I just got cut here. And you like just want somebody to help you stop the bleeding and not realize, yo, some of the people that you're reaching out to or want to help you stop, yo, they're bleeding themselves, really.
You might not see it because they're facing you, but they might be bleeding on their back, you know.
Facts.
But I had to learn that through that process. And through that process, I decided, I was like, you know what? Since life isn't going well, I'm going to totally embrace the bad side. I'm going to do everything I can to be the bad guy. So that came with, you know, selling, you know, and I'm not talking about just corner selling. I'm talking about you know, pounds and pounds in the house.
Wow.
So,
and that's because you feel because since stuff is not going right, yo,
let's go the other route.
Let's just go way left.
You know, then I had a period of flossing, strip clubs every night. You know, running around, womanizing.
Yeah.
And that even taught me something about myself. So the womanizing, let me say this clear. Every man has that void on the inside of him that needs to be filled. And I thought I can fill it by having different women around. You know, and that only led to more and more emptiness because I know why you're around, you know, it's because I have this or.
Yeah.
You know, once I lose it, where are you? So it was a very empty feeling, you know.
Even in the midst of it.
In the midst of it.
And
I had to learn it though. It was like going through with it, going through. And those nights when you're alone, that's when it hits you. You know? So I'm the same guy like you. Like, I love my relationship. I want to be in a relationship, you know, but I didn't know that until I did that phase.
Yeah.
You know.
So I mean, that's so. I guess I want to say I think that's really rare though for people to when they're in the midst of it to be able to acknowledge or be aware, like self-aware that I'm actually still lacking. Like a lot of times that's an afterthought. Once you've like gotten healed and came out of that like place, and then you could like you reflect and be like, yo man, you know, like now that I think about it, I still was like hurting. That's why I just kept, you know, doing with this. But to actually be actively engaged in like I said, like, you know, like you said, still going left oriented behaviors, wilding, doing all that stuff, and then like in the midst of it, could kind of have an outer body experience, like step outside yourself and look at yourself and go,
absolutely,
yo, you still got that void. Like you're not
happy.
You're not happy. Like you think slaying all these chicks, you think being at the strip clubs, popping bottles, spending money, blowing cash, having pounds, doing all of this, whatever, you think that's it. And then in the midst of it, you have that epiphany or those revelations and you're like alone, whether you in a dark space, whether you laying on your bed at night, looking up at the ceiling, and you're like, yo, this still ain't it.
It made me not trust females, actually. Because think about it. When you have one woman, it's the hardest thing to keep that woman loving you because she knows you. She knows every little jot and tittle of your personality, of what you're gonna do before you do it.
Do you think that's even the way you like even phrase that is kind of like, I would say like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, shocking to me. Like it's hard to have a woman like keep loving you. Like, do you think that should even be your responsibility?
No, but what I'm going to say is
so explain that for me.
It's easy to meet a new woman and have her gawking all over you because she does not know you.
Yeah.
She knows what she sees right now
yeah.
and what you said to her right now.
Yeah.
Your wife,
Got you.
she sees you at your lowest.
She knows the highs, lows, all that.
So
I would think the burden of love in that case would be on that person.
Absolutely.
Not you in the context you gave the example of, you the husband, your wife. I think it would be your wife would be tasked with saying, yo, I know him in his low, his highs. Like, it's my decision to love this man each day. Like, that's a decision that I always had the sentiment, you deciding to love someone doesn't just like happen at the altar. Like, that's a decision you will make
every day,
every single day after the altar until the day you die. You know what I mean? So,
but see, I have a sort of counterintuitive view on love.
Talk to me.
My father used to teach me this, and I believe it to this day. Love is not a feeling.
Oh, I've been saying that. Talk to me.
Love is an action.
Talk to me.
That produces a feeling.
Talk to me.
So you can be aggravated or have hateful feelings toward this person right now.
Yeah.
But deciding to love is an action.
I say, well, I think it's saying the same thing. I say love is a decision.
Okay.
Love is not an emotion. It's a decision. And you decide every day to make that decision. And I think it was dope because for my one of my certifications from Harvard was that I have for public speaking.
What?
Involved me having to do an opinion editorial piece, an op-ed, and my subject I chose for the final chapter of the course was about love, and that was the title of my op-ed, was "Love is not an emotion, love is a decision." And one of the things, the biggest examples I tried to pull from, I said, my opinion was the people who know this best, that love is a decision, are women who have given birth to their children.
Explain that.
They know best that love is a decision and not emotion or feeling, because for 9 months, that child is giving you very uncomfortable feelings. That like, I actually, because again, this is for Harvard University. This is a final like course project. Like, so this couldn't just be like some quick like Facebook post. Like I actually had to do research and back my argument up with like data, and like, so I researched things like a woman's pregnancy cycles, like all these things, like, right?
The hormone changes.
To pull from like the fact that like their uterus can grow to the size of like a cantaloupe or like watermelon. And I'm like envisioning these things, and I'm like, yo, women go through excruciating pain, vomiting, morning sickness, then the day that you're actually giving birth,
the
like
body dysmorphia,
ripping you open, that all of that, and that baby comes out, gets placed in your arms, and you instantly look that baby in the face and say, "I love you." Now, how is that possible if love is a feeling? Because all this time, this human being has been giving you horrible feelings, but you have made up your mind. You've made a decision concerning that human growing on the inside of you, that I will love you. And somewhere, I think as a society,
we forgot
we switch the rules when it's another adult we meet at an altar, decide to get married, and then we go, now love won't be a decision.
See,
It's your job.
What we do as humans, we want to be safe and comfortable. So, let's say your wife's behavior right now doesn't make you safe or comfortable.
Yeah.
What we do is we do, maybe a manipulative action or something to bring them back into the box.
Yes.
That we know.
So we feel safe.
So we feel safe and comfortable. And I learned love is still behaving lovingly toward the person, my wife, that might be acting in a way that I'm not comfortable. And I think that's love.
That's unconditional love.
That's unconditional love. And it's hard to do. It's very hard to do because we as humans need to feel safe.
Yes.
Especially in our home.
Yes.
We need to feel secure that you're not leaving.
Yes.
Or whatever the case may be. So what we do is we try to, keep them in a box.
Yeah.
That we know. Like, I know what this action means. I know what this action means. I know what that action means. But if you do that, I'm going to be mad and I'm going to be quiet. And I'm not going to talk to you until you get back into this box.
So now about piggybacking off of the feeling like need to feel like safe, that dynamic made me just think of the idea of like just of what we as the individual need. So I always say as well, right? Like we need this a very strong sense of self-love, right?
Mm-hmm.
So given like just a little bit of like the story that you've given so far, like in those low points or places or even like, today, would you say that you were in those low places maybe as long as you were because there was any actual issue with like self-love being at the core?
Absolutely.
Or like, was it something that you in the midst of it just look outwardly and like say, hey, because I may be involved with someone in a relationship who's not loving me, since they're not loving me, that's why I'm in this low place, or that's why I feel like this, rather than saying, no, I actually need to do more loving me. Mm-hmm. It's not, because a lot of people do that.
Point.
They look outwardly before looking at themselves in the mirror and go, actually, you know what? A big part of my issue is that I don't love me. And if I first love me, some of what I'm dealing with the people on the outside of me wouldn't even be going down because, the phrase, you train people how to deal with you. So when they see, well, you don't even love you. Look at how you treat yourself. Look. So why should I?
So let's get into that a little bit. Since I was a weed smoker, I smoked every day, about 7 blunts a day. And that was called abuse. I mean, that was drug abuse. Mm-hmm. So since I was smoking, I decided to sell it in a big quantity, in a big way. So then it went from that to me sniffing coke with some OGs that I knew. Mm-hmm. Then it went from that to selling cocaine because I was using it. Yeah. So I always wanted it to be free for me. So that's why, Yeah. Then it went from that to Percocets. Wow. Addicted to those for about a year. Then it went from Percocets to actual heroin.
Wow.
Sniffing heroin. Then it went from that to smoking crack. Okay. So I abused myself for about 4 years. And through that process, I had to learn to be comfortable with myself. I was always running from me. I wanted to feel different. Wow. I didn't like myself. I wanted to feel different. So, I was doing all that. But
wanted to feel
one thing I learned
different.
about that was my mental health. I learned about mental health, and that's a big thing that, especially as minorities, we don't really get into a lot. But, I learned through the drug abuse that I was actually a bipolar schizophrenic. Mm-hmm. And it only happened when trauma occurs. So, being shot at or abusing crack made me hallucinate. It made me see things, demons, and.
So, like, just to pause you, like, and maybe back up a little bit. Mm-hmm. You said you wanted to change how you felt. How does, because, you told me about, because I think your story might actually dispel and make more complicated some things that certain people just assume pans out a certain way if given certain other factors. right?
Okay.
So some people say, well, you know what? You won't have a young black man such as yourself get caught up in things like drug abuse or this, and that if they have a father figure. Or if they have a father figure and their mother are together. You know, they say, you know, a broken home is what'll push a kid to, you know, go out there and be in the streets. If it's not a broken home, then the fact that, like I said, their father is not around. But it sounds like, you know, you guys might have moved around a lot, but family, you said, was really big to you guys. You had your mom and dad, which you said seemed to be these really great, awesome people. You cited your father as like your hero, like, you know, your you know. So how does one get from a springboard, a foundation of that, to a place where now I don't like how I feel and I want to change how, like, help make that like connection. Like what do you cite, if you even know? Like, I know a lot of some of this stuff for some people is really like a lifelong journey of discovery. Like, it's certain pieces like I don't really know that answer yet for me, you know. So
I'm a case manager for homeless people, mental health, and addiction. And there's some people who've been smoking crack for 50 years. That's all they know. So we have to, you know, sort of set their life up around knowing that that's what they do. That's
do you know what that is for you? What that
for me?
The answer to that is like, or is it a place?
It started out as fun. All drugs start out as fun. Then it becomes, I don't like how I feel, so I'm going to keep doing it. Then it becomes you need it.
Okay, the dependency.
It changes your body composition to where you actually need it. But mine was like drug abuse becomes your friend. Like the drug becomes your best friend.
Wow.
So say this, right? I liked playing video games. I liked playing basketball. I liked hanging out with my family. There's things that I liked, right? Then you add drugs to it. I like playing basketball high on weed. It's more fun. I like playing video games high on weed. It's fun.
It's like the friend has to come with you and do all these things you like.
Right.
I got to bring my friend to go play basketball.
But then what you start doing is cutting out the middleman. You're like, wait, forget basketball. I'm going to just smoke the weed. So you cut out, you gradually...
I could feel good without the video game. In the
you gradually cut out the things that are you and that you love, and you replace it with this substance.
That's crazy.
You know? So
wow,
that was a journey, and I'm so glad I went through it. So, you know, because now with my job, it's not just book knowledge.
You like, I've lived this joint.
I know.
I know what this dude is.
I know how you feel, you know, and I'm not going to judge you, but I'm going to help you, you know. So,
and I think that's a major, you know, dynamic that people who can get to a place, you know, where it seems like you've at least gotten to where you can embrace the good, the bad, the ugly, and indifferent parts of you in your past or whatever, because then God can use you along with your past as a way of leading other people to redemption and restoration themselves. Like without real life people or without people who have a real life story like that, who are placed in settings where you work with communities where you work at, I don't think there's like really much efficacy like there. Like, you know, workers, I think many institutions, organizations or whatever, if they were void of people, individuals who actually have those real life stories themselves, I think wouldn't be and experience some of the success or the headway they make with other people in the community facing it. Like, it takes someone to be able to, like the times I, you know, worked at the, you know, the youth group, you know, homes and stuff like that, residential.
You worked at the Children's Center with me, right?
So I've experienced some of those things, you know, that those kids have experienced.
It's rough.
So you can anytime, like, and it's like when you're the individual in that mess, whether you're a kid or you know, homeless person or an adult, like the ones you work with, kid or an adult, when you're that person hurting in that low place, the minute you get face to face with someone that you know, like how they say real recognize real, when you get face to face with someone that you can really see, oh shoot, you actually know what I'm talking about, it's like this spark like of like hope. And not like you like everything's gonna be solved for them, but like it's this like spark of hope that comes with feeling like the person in front of me trying to calm me down or trying to like help me out actually knows what the heck they're talking about. They're not talking from just some textbook that they read in their college class. Like, no, he actually knows.
And a lot of the people I've actually gotten high with, you know, so they know.
Oh snap! What's that like? Like
they see the transformation and they treat me different. So at first it's like, how did he get that job? Not knowing I have degree and I was doing it before, you know, I got strung out. And now I'm back to case management. But they're like, they look at me and my wife, because me and my wife was running around crazy, bro. Wow. My wife is a G. Let me tell you, bro. Like, she's a G. When we was out in them streets, bro, like, we used to do a lot of fugazi things, you know, and she was definitely Bonnie. So,
Bonnie and Clyde.
But now she actually works at the shelter portion of the job. So she looks after, you know, all of the homeless people, make sure they got towels and sheets and pillows, and she's the supervisor now. She got promoted. And I'm actually a case manager on the other side. So we both sort of corral the town in a way, because the town is small. It's 5 miles, 5 square miles. So we know a lot of the people. We've gotten high with a lot of the people. But now, because our behavior changed, people have no choice but to treat us differently. You know, they're like, wow.
The writing is on the wall.
How did you do it? And now me and her are 3.5, almost 4 years clean from everything. We don't smoke cigarettes anymore. But God blessed me with a person who is the sweetest person I've ever met.
How did y'all even like come across each other, like a connect? Or
rehab. We met in rehab.
Oh, in rehab.
We did everything we weren't supposed to do. So they say when you're an addict, don't get into a relationship for like a year. You know, we was in rehab. We had them. We used to call them COs, but the people who worked in the rehab, we had them wrapped around our finger, man. They used to unlock the cafeteria for us, let us go in there and rock, you know. But she's definitely given to me by God, and I thank God for her every day, man. She's awesome. She's traditional too. So I'm a traditional guy. I believe the guy is supposed to take care of his family. That's the charge God gave him. And I believe the wife is supposed to, you know, keep the household straight. Now, if she decides to work, that's cool. You're helping me with my job. Which is to take care of the family. You're helping, which is awesome. So that means I'm going to help around the house. You're helping me, so I'll help you, you know. But I believe in the core. I believe the core of things is for a man to take care of his family. You know?
So is it, you know, I never expect anybody to, like, you know, share someone else's story because it's their story. But would you say that was her kind of like journey to how she ended up in rehab or at that low place for her? Was it kind of like the same path or had some of the same precursors that yours had?
Pretty much.
She
was in a bad relationship. So she needed an escape route. She would go outside and go get her stuff and, you know, get high. But
wow,
it was pretty much the same thing. You know,
relationship
failing.
Was she able to have the same kind of supportive family that it seems like you had around? Oh, so she might even had it a little harder, would you say?
So us being together helped her and it helped me, because we were able to egg each other on in success. You know, like, I know how you feel if you want something, or she knows how I feel. She knows.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So it was, we both sort of supported each other through the process. You know.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I think it's important that, you know, obviously you both were able to, well, I don't even think you really had much of a choice. But you both were in a position where you couldn't put on, like, how, you know, how people say when they first try to, like, date somebody, you know, they put on their representative, their best, you know, version. It's kind of like you met each other's ugly version.
We met each other at the bottom.
Yeah. So it's like, it's only up from here.
Exactly.
You know, so I want to be able to, hopefully you can see this, you stick around long enough to see this better version of me that does exist. But this is where we meeting each other down here.
She's seen my ugly early.
Yeah.
Early.
Would
I
you
used
say
to
that?
tell her, I used to say, you know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend. Everything you're telling me your ex-boyfriend did, I'm capable of.
Exactly.
I'm the same dude.
Exactly.
So I'm not even going to diss him. And I'm the same guy, potentially.
Exactly.
I can break you apart.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But it's always a choice, you know. So,
do you? Would you say that because you met at the bottom, I imagine that plays, well, I wouldn't say easy, because I feel like, you know, marriage, I don't care who the two people are, how great or bad the people are. Marriage is hard.
It is.
Marriage is work. I don't care.
Full-time job.
Who you are, where you at in your life. But would you say it's because you've been married before, so you have at least a small comparison you could be able to make? Do you feel like because you two met at the bottom, doing marriage day to day with this individual is somewhat a little easier than if maybe she didn't know what your ugliest looked like? Like, let's say if somebody was to meet you today and you got married to that person,
right,
and they see you present day the way you know, I've been clean for going 4 years from everything. They actually don't know what's, you know, what's your ugliest or what you could be capable of, or you know. But this person you're married to today, they could say, I've loved this person in their ugliest bottom. Does that play a part in making it easier day to day to do this thing called marriage? Or would you say in your mind it's equally hard?
So 2 things.
Or harder for different reasons? So
2 things. One, I showed her my ugly early and on purpose. You know, it was my insecurity. You know, I wanted to see if she would stick around through my ugly. Right? And she did. I shouldn't have done it that way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do, though.
But I was like, I'm not gonna be Mr. Charming, so that later on in 4 or 5 years, she'll finally see me. I'm gonna show her that ugly right now.
Yeah,
you know. So that was 1. 2, it took work. We were in the Bible, bro. We were in the NA books, studying. You know, what makes a person an addict. What feelings come, you know, why do we run around? We're addicted to chaos. I mean, it was just a lot of things we had to discover together. And one thing I loved about her is she's very studious, you know. There's always a book in her hand. There's always a Bible in her hand. There's always a notebook next to it, writing and discovering. And so it was easy with her. It was like she was me, female version, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm always in some type of information, whether it be good or bad. I'm always into it. You know, I eat the fish and spit out the bones, but I've studied a lot. You know, Islam.
Yeah.
A lot of different things. You know, but she's very studious and very devout. You know?
And you guys both have kids?
Yes, we have 2 children together.
Oh, you have two together. Okay. How many do you guys have all together? You're a blended
10.
family. So how many does she have outside
5.
of you? Okay. And you have
5 altogether, but 2 with her.
okay. So that's a big blended family.
Absolutely.
I'm a blended family as well. We don't have any together yet. You know, we believe in God for that.
Awesome.
But yeah, wow, man. So that's I would say the way in which you have reflected upon your dad as like a vision of, you know, someone to model your life after, someone that you can pull wisdom from or knowledge or, you know, look up to, a role model. Again, I just think the reason shifts, but I think it's something that the two of you, you and your wife could offer to your 10 children is we could be role models, not for the same reason Mr. and Mrs. Wallace might have been role models for me growing up as, you know, their kids. Maybe for our kids, God will use us and raise us up through what we had to go through, the hell we had to go through, and we'll be actually a symbol of like the phoenix. Like, I don't care how far down and low life knocked you on your behind or what gutter you find yourself in or wake up in the next day. You got your mother and your father to look at and go, get up, get up.
They were a big part of our recovery. I remember we was walking around in New Haven high as a kite. And that schizophrenic thing hit me. And I'm seeing stuff and I'm, you know, going crazy in my mind. So we walk all the way to my parents' house, sit on the porch. They haven't seen me, mind you, because I've been running around in Providence and New York, and we running around going crazy. So sit on their porch. I knock on the door. I looked at my father and said, Dad, I'm done. I can't do it no more. Like, I need to be clean. I need your help.
Yeah.
He said, come on in. He opened the door. He said, come on in. They let us pretty much crash on their couch for like 2 days straight. We slept for like 2 days straight. And they just catered to us, gave us food, you know, made sure we was good. Then my mom was calling around for rehabs and different things. So she found a good one, sent us both there. And they were a big part. And that's why I'm sad my mom died, you know. It's because a lot of this was to make them proud. Them.
Yeah.
You know. I'm glad she got to see me clean for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But there was much more in my heart that I wanted to do for them. And, you know.
Yeah.
It's like half of my reason for excelling is gone.
Wow.
You know.
Nah, I could believe that.
I was going to say something that I forgot, but
yeah, man.
It's all good.
But no, being that role model, it just, you know what I mean? Sometimes the reason is different.
There was one thing I wanted to say to you, and I thought this was key. A lot of people might not agree with my method, but one time, me and my spouse had some differences, right? So I called my daughter. She's 13. I said, come in the kitchen. Sit down. I wanted to have a disagreement in front of her so that she can see how a disagreement is supposed to be handled without the yelling, screaming, name calling.
I can respect that.
I want to hear what you have to say. I want you to hear what I have to say. And I want to come to a conclusion reasonably in front of her. So I think that was a big thing, you know. For me, I was proud of doing that because she was like, wow. Like,
and that's at the age where
because me and her mom, you know.
Yeah.
We couldn't get it together, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's her fault or mine.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't get it together in that area.
Yeah.
We always.
Yeah.
And learning how to handle differences was part of my recovery, you know.
Wow. But that's why I said what I said again. I echo it again. The reason might be different, but you know, I think the place that you and your wife both have found yourselves today, present day, has been, you know, a point in time where all of your kids will be able to look at as like role models for them, or something to look at to say, yo, mom and dad did it. We can.
Yeah. Both my boys, 17 and 16, they know more than my daughter does, you know. Like, they seen me. I used to have them with me sometimes running around in the street. This is before I was an addict, you know, running around in the street doing this, doing that. They was like, Dad, are you like a kingpin? I'm like, nah, you know. But now they see me, and it's like, now they really respect my advice.
Yeah.
You know, I say, nah, you shouldn't do that, do this, and
Yeah.
try to do that. And, you know, I do the numbers for them. Like, I told them, I said, you know, when you graduate high school, do something. Like, don't just get a job at Walmart. Like, you know, even if you don't want to go to college, go to trade school. And I did the numbers with them. I was like, all right, let's say you work at Walmart. How much you gonna make? You know, can you afford a car? Can you afford? I actually did the numbers. So now they're like, I got to do something. I got to own something, you know?
Facts. Yo, this is the Free Lunch Podcast. And so, you know, the tagline for the show is free food for your soul. So, you know, lunch in that respect, you know, acts as a double entendre. So, you know, this is, you know, the episodes act as a thing for people to enjoy during their day, to listen to on like a lunch break. But also what they're hearing is to be edifying some part of their soul. So at the end of every show, I try to offer, you know, have my guests maybe offer something to the listeners as, you know, the takeaway that's going to be something that is edifying to the soul of the people listening. What would you say is like one major takeaway? What's something edible for the soul you want the people to walk away from before we wrap up?
That's a big question. What I would say is this: don't be the next Kanye, or don't be the next Nicki Minaj. Be the first you.
Wow, that's crazy. Say that one more time. I need you to say that one more time, man. Yo, that's crazy.
Don't aspire to be the next Kanye West. Don't, you know, try to be the next Nicki Minaj. Just be the first you.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. Yo, I can't even follow up with that, man. I'm gonna have to let that stay right there. Y'all heard the man. It's free lunch, free food for your soul. Peace.
All right.